Yes, into, no, mistrial. I believe if there were black jurors among them, he would have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter. It would be out today. With the new trial, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Again, no. The state tried to prove it was premeditated. They had his friend Reese support the state's position, so he would get an early release. Reese said that Thomas wanted a fight, and it was premeditated. Reese later publicly stated that he had lied. Reese was released 11 years ago. 26 years have passed. Thomas could have been bitter for the rest of his life. Instead, he devoted his time to help others, to educate inmates, even establish second chance programs that he led. Thomas has helped thousands of inmates who have gone to be contributing good citizens. One of those inmates went to work for Mayor Walsh. We have received so many letters praising Thomas, former inmates, and even coming in person to testify that if it wasn't for Thomas, they would not have succeeded in life, as well as district attorneys and people in legal profession. Thomas has led so many programs and received so many awards for his outstanding accomplishments, participating in so many programs. Thomas was never a criminal. He did not grow up in a loving environment. His stepfather was abusive. Without claws, would beat him with a belt. Yet he never turned to crime. He worked hard and he excelled in everything he did. I am confident that the members of the Governor's Council share my strong support for Thomas. I am honored to vote for Thomas's commutation. We cannot give him back the years that he has lost, but we can vote to give him a successful future to share with his son and with so many people waiting to assist him along his journey. Respectfully submitted, Allen and Petito Division.
Thank you, Council. Council Ferreira.
Thank you. I would say that this is a very difficult decision for all of us to make. We have to weigh the interest of public safety, the fact that Mr. Koonce's victim's family do not want to see him released because they never get the answer to that. From someone who spent 30 years in law enforcement, and first I can tell you, my knee-jerk reaction was, why? Why should you let this person out? This is the law. We elect state representatives, we elect state senators, we elect governors who sign this into law. That if you are convicted of first-degree murder, you don't get parole. On the other hand, the Constitution, with this release valve called the commutation, to let people out. Hasn't been engaged in 30 years. On my balancing test with Mr. Koonce, I see that, it's exceptionally rare that someone who never thinks they're coming out of prison will be the model prison that he was and help someone else. I heard from the district attorney of Bristol County, Thomas Quinn, who thinks that it's a good idea that we vote yes and allow Koonce a second chance. We've heard from many supporters about the jobs and housing he has available, and that he'll be a good model citizen. He gets out. I do want to say, my colleague here, with all due respect, talked about her version of the facts, and that other people may not agree with her version of the facts as they are recounted for us by numerous people. At the end of the day, Bristol County jury made of 12 people convicted Mr. Koonce of first-degree murder, premeditated malice aforethought. He went to the Burger King and came back. I don't want to rehash all the facts, but there was substantial evidence that was sustained and appealed that Mr. Koonce did, in fact, kill someone, premeditated malice, first-degree murder, and do it for life. I do think if anyone's going to be released, Mr. Koonce is the model person to be released. We'll be voting for him.
Thank you, Councilor Jubinville.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I would like to thank Attorney Timothy Foley, who did an incredible job for his client. Um, You went above and beyond the call of duty, and you did it all out of the public good, and I really think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank the DA, Tom Quinn, who spoke at this hearing and agreed with the commutation. I did speak with the victim's mother, and the victim was a young man, his 20s, had just passed the police exam in New Bedford. Looking forward to go on the academy down there and start a new career. So there were two things that I look for in a commutation. One is what happened in prison. And I told Mr. Koonce that, as far as I'm concerned, what he did in prison was incredible. I gave him an A+++. I don't know how he ever did that under those conditions. It was an achievement that quite frankly, I don't know many people that could do that. I went over the facts with him in quite detail. The facts, I do suggest are, we all have our opinion of the facts, so I suggest they were a little different. Shooting in the air was not what happened. Shot in the air, that young man would be alive for that. However, he did not recollect some of the things I asked him about. But I thought about that and I said, well, after 30 years, sometimes we don't remember things the way they exactly were, and we cement in our minds a picture of what happened. We don't come off that. After the hearing, I was discussing something with a very old friend of mine about what happened in my hometown of Holyoke, and I had a recollection of it different than his. His was right. And I says, geez, I forgot that. I thought of Mr. Koonce and said, he has set up this in his mind, it's cemented, and it's what he believes. So, as a balancing act, I just can't and won't vote. Make my vote mean that somebody is going to spend more than 30 years in jail and stay in jail. I believe 30 years in jail is enough. It's enough for most people that are in the system. I do want to thank the governor publicly and the lieutenant governor for having the courage to submit commutations to us, first time in I think 25 years. I think you have given hope to a lot of people in the facilities that there may be a chance that they could get it. And it may help them get through the prison sentence a little easier. I also think you have given any future governors a lot of confidence that they too can give commutations with vetting the inmates in a proper way, which is what you did. And I think it's very important that we do commutations. I don't understand why we have inmates that are 60 and 70 and 80 years old, spending 45 years in a facility. At that age, with that many years, they have nothing left in them. They are not a danger anymore. We spend $45,000 to $50,000 a year keeping one of the only major countries on earth that holds people in jail for that length of time. The medical bills on these older inmates is astounding. We could put that money to education of children and other better ways than keeping these people locked up for no reason at all after all those years. So in any event, I will be voting for Mr. Koonce's commutation. I think he's a wonderful man. I don't think we'll ever see him back committing a crime again. Again, I thank the governor and lieutenant governor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Allen.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I want to just thank the governor and the administration for the seriousness they took in making this decision, and for my colleagues on the council for the seriousness we took in considering this. And I hope that this represents the dawn of an era where clemency is more common. The Mass Bar Association has said that commutations are a targeted and immediate remedy for the racial sentencing disparities we see in the Commonwealth. And not only that, commutations like those we're voting on today provide hope in places where it's very hard to come by hope. And I hope that these decisions offer hope to those who do not have an amazing team of attorneys devoting countless pro bono hours to their cause. And I want to thank those attorneys who worked on these cases as well. Thank you very much.
Councilor Hurley.
Thank you very much. Today, we are here to act upon something that the governor, lieutenant governor, I think, took very seriously and made a lot of effort to make sure that the decision was the correct one. I grieve for the families who lost their loved ones. And I would point out, we are not here to second guess the jurors or the judges who acted on these cases, or the prosecution that acted on these cases. These are situations where people would have had the ability to plead to a lesser offense. They decided to exercise their right to a jury trial, which is the way our system works. However, my vote here today is not based on woulda, coulda, shoulda, or if. My vote here today is based on the fact that these two men spent a significant amount of time paying for their crime in terms of their rehabilitation. That's their dreams of what rehabilitation should be like for everybody. And it's not what they did back when they were found guilty. It's what they have done with their lives since then. Should it have been done earlier? Possibly. But this is a new era. I recall very well when the mood of the legislature and the administration was punishment, punishment, punishment. I think we've come a long way socially and legally in terms of how we think, how we process things. There are certainly two different cases, but they're both cases where young men made mistakes and had to pay for them with sentences that were required by law, but basically, the reason they're out, going to be able to get out is because of the fact that they took advantage of opportunities that were presented to them within the prison system as a result of programs that have come to pass much later than 10 years ago. And think about the families, but I also think about the families of the two gentlemen, Mr. Koonce and Mr. Allen, who will now have a loved one back in their life. I think about the fact that they're not just being let out the door, that there are fail-safes in the system. There's safety nets in the system. And these two men, I believe, are totally motivated to do something with the rest of their lives, to reunite with family and to perhaps have opportunities in the future. And it's always about giving back and paying it forward. And I believe that my vote here today for commutation for both Mr. Koonce and Mr. Allen be well served. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else like to be heard? We have a motion and a second. We may begin the roll call. Follow.
Yes.
Councilor Hurley.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Councilor Devaney.
I just want to say, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Attorney Foley, as my colleague has said, pro bono. He stayed with him, believed in him through all this. And I thank the governor and lieutenant governor. It's been a long time, 25 years. And Salvati, 25 years ago, served 32 years for a murder he didn't commit. So I hope that we'll see more coming. So I vote yes, proudly.
Yes.
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 I recognize Counselor Jubenville for a motion to be recorded by consent to commute the sentence of William Allen.
I do so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Counselor Devane.
Um, Lieutenant Governor, as I have said, this is our first Massachusetts commutations in 25 years. And as I've said, the time of schools, I believe I have responsibility to document that so that people will know publicly what the men came for a commutation and how the council voted. And it will be placed in the governor's council office for the record. I met with William Allen for over 2.5 hours at prison. Again, this is an egregious example of the Massachusetts court system black disparity. There wasn't one black juror. William was given the most unfair sentence, life in prison without parole, but he didn't kill anyone. He didn't know what happened. He wasn't even in the room. And just like with Thomas, when I left the prison, I returned to my crime. I cried for the injustice that this man has been suffering. When he was a young man, it's noted by all, he was a follower. But you know, he never had anyone who took care of him or showed him love, guidance. Instead of his mother taking care of him, as many of us have been so fortunate, he took care of his mother from a young age. She was a drug addict and an alcoholic. The father had left, and he had other siblings to care for. As a little boy, William would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he would look for bottles and cans in the neighborhood. He would cash them to buy cigarettes, Pepsi, and potato chips for his mother. He would be late for school. When his mother would pass out, when she was unconscious from the drugs, he would miss school altogether and stay home and watch her. He excelled when he did go to school. With no parent guidance, William never was in trouble. He never was involved in any criminal activity of any kind. When his mother beat him so severely and made one of his siblings drink pine salt, they were removed to the state for a few months and then to his great grandmother. When I asked him how it was with his great grandmother, he responded, she did the best she could. In August 1994, William asked by his 24-year-old friend, Mr. Perry, to break into a house. He loved Mr. Perry like a brother and always wanted to please him. Mr. Perry's mother was like a mother to William that he didn't have. Mr. Perry was known to be involved in criminal activity, especially drug dealing, while William lived the opposite style of life. When in the house, Mr. Perry ordered William to keep the 4 girls who were in the house to the bathroom, while he went into another room with the owner. He returned to check, and the girls feared him. And it's on the record. One of the girls said, if I went to court, I would tell them how this man, meaning William, protected them against the other guy. William had no knowledge that Mr. Perry was stabbing Mr. Fester in the other room 11 times and killed him. In August 1997, William was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In addition, received 9 to 10 year sentence for armed robbery while masked. William took a camera case and a police scanner just to impress Mr. Perry. Numerous motions for new trial and motions to vacate his conviction were rejected. These were all denied in Plymouth Superior Court. He hoped to get a sentence of involuntary manslaughter, so did not agree to admit guilt. He believed in justice. Not one white juror. His friend, Mr. Perry, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was released from prison 11 years ago, October 3rd, 2011. In addition to a life sentence, William was given 9 to 10 years in prison for the armed robbery while masked. He spent much time in church. In his youth, was employed as their camp counselor at the summer day camp for several years. After graduation, he was full-time employed in the Jamaica Plain Veterans Administration. While in prison, William received over 40 certifications of accomplishments in different areas, including barbering. He received the highest honors for cooking and catering. This is William's dream, to be a chef. I hope the many people who are there for him will help him realize that dream. William believed, as he took no part in the murder, he could not admit guilt. He believed in justice. He hoped for a sentence of involuntary manslaughter. It was a mistrial 10-2. He was denied more justice. There was not sufficient evidence to retry. He learned to admit and accept responsibility for contributing to Mr. Bester's death and regrets not taking the plea. William has told the parole board he has accomplished everything possible to get where he is today. They noted his positive impact on so many inmates. He has devoted much time working with developmental delayed, blind, and severely disabled at the hospital there. William has led groups in prison with inmates. He is credited with leading other inmates in the Alternative to Violence and Restorative Justice program. He has changed the life of so many with his ability to empathize and make them feel like they're not alone. His strong Catholic faith has given him strength. He trained to be a Eucharistic minister and attends church daily. He has earned the respect of all who know him. Through his example, there has been an increase of prisoners attending church services. It was documented that 11 years ago, William was responsible for preventing an inmate from attacking a female correction officer. Everyone talks about William always willing to help, always going beyond, even helping to volunteer the shovel when it snows. He is deeply religious in his Catholic faith, and he serves in church, and many written letters in support for William, even including the sister and the daughter of the murdered victim. I am greatly concerned about William's health, and I mentioned it first when William was here at the hearing. William has not received the medical attention he needs. He has serious medical problems. When he was a child, he was never given the medical attention at that time. I will state those conditions here in writing for the record, but they are so numerous that I will not verbally state them. It is obvious, coming from the household he grew up in, medical conditions were not met from the start. I will only state as lupus and abnormal liver condition. And then I put all of the things. It's a whole page. I mention this as important for the people who are going to be with him when he is released, to see that he sees the best doctors and receives the best medical care. I met in prison with William for over 2.5 hours. And yes, when I went back to the car, I cried. But this good man was deprived of justice in this faulty Massachusetts court system. And again, thinking of this week's sentence at Essex District Court, this man, multiple offenses of this type of crime, killed a 13-year-old, drugged, and raped, and watched her die. And he received a sentence of 20 years. Each of us must do everything we can to change the justice system in Massachusetts. Hold judges accountable and remove those who are not there. Today, I will be honored to vote for William Allen for commutation. I wish I had a magic wand and could turn back the clock and give him the justice he deserved. But I pray that William will have health and happiness as he is reunited with his father and many supporters who love him and the journey that lies ahead for him. And I do want to thank, the 3 attorneys who stood by him all this time, and also for the governor and lieutenant governor. But 25 years is too long, and we have to make sure that we see the people who are due commutation to come before us. And again, I thank Justice Robert Cordy and Attorney Christine McDonald and Attorney Patricia DeJulis. I hope I have them all right here. So this will be in the Governor's Council, and I'm not retrying the trial. I don't want people to think that, but people will look back. How many people remember 25 years ago? How many people remember here in this room? He served 32 years for murder he didn't commit. And just like this was racial disparity, not a black juror, they tried to say that if he was part of the mafia. And on the day of that court, 25 years ago, there were 15 FBI men standing with machine guns outside the courthouse. Do you think that affected the jurors? So I'm saying we have to change the system. We have to change the judges. You can't vote no on how the judges can come before us. So I've said enough, and I'm very proud and honored to be voting today. I'll be voting yes.
Thank you, Counselor. We'll go Counselor Ferreira, and then we will go down the table.
Thank you, Devin. Just quickly, I do want to say that we have the added benefit in this particular case of having a very able counselor, Jubenville, who was a lawyer at the time. We get the benefit of hearing from Counselor Attorney Jubenville how he thought and strongly recommended and just couldn't get him to accept a lesser plea. But by all accounts, it was like, sounds like he would have been out a long time ago. Again, the facts are the facts. And the facts, with all due respect to my counsel to my left, can be disputed. And other people have different versions of the facts. The fact is, he didn't do the actual killing. We all agree with that. The fact is, he held 4 women in a bathroom and held the knife to their throats. The fact is that he did get convicted of a masked home invasion, which is punishable up to 20 years in and of itself without parole. This case is a little different. Number one, he didn't commit murder, and number two, the family of the victim is a support of the case, which take into account. And secondly, I do agree with my counsel that he has been a model person. He has gone to Bridgewater State Hospital, he took a young kid, an older handicapped person, who he was with for a lot of years, and was his best friend, and we heard all the stories about how he helped reform life in the Bridgewater State Prison while he was serving his time in his service. We also heard from District Attorney of Plymouth County, Tim Cruz, who was in favor of the commutation as well. And with all those factors to weigh, I am going to vote yes. Commutation, I'm thankful to the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the parole board for all their work in vetting this case and getting it to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jubenville.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor, and I find it somewhat strange that 7 years ago, when I tried that case for Mr. Allen, I had no idea that I would be sitting on this council.
That's right.
So I have to correct my sister from Watertown. I don't know of any evidence that the jury was racist. He had a judge, Judy Cowan, who was one of the finest Superior Court judges, in my view, that we've had. She was fair, she was decent, she went on to be a judge in the Supreme Court of Massachusetts. The district attorney was Paul Dolly, who is now the chief judge of all the district courts in the Commonwealth. So what happened in the case was that, you've heard it, he was charged along with a co-defendant for a murder of a drug dealer. Two of them went in to rob the drug dealer. He didn't do the killing, but back in those days, there were a couple of laws, the felony murder rules, which was in effect, the shorthand answer is, if you commit a crime and during the course of that crime, you commit a felony and during the course of that felony, somebody dies and you get charged, you can get convicted of one of the three different legs of a murder case. One of them is felony murder. That has been changed by the legislature. There's also a theory of the law called joint venture. So if you and your buddies go in and commit a crime, you're a joint venturer. What one does, you're all charged with. The example always given is the guy who says to his friend, drive me to the bank, I'm going to rob the bank. Nobody's going to get hurt. The guy goes into the bank and he shoots a bank teller, comes running out and they drive off. Well, the driver gets charged with the murder also because it's a joint venture. And the other crime similar to that is conspiracy, where if you're in a conspiracy with a group of people, one of them commit a crime, everybody in the conspiracy is liable for that crime. Is it fair? I don't think so. I never thought joint venture or conspiracy crimes were fair. I thought everybody should get charged with what they do in the crime, not what somebody else does. In any event, Mr. Allen went to trial. We tried, myself, the district attorney, Judge Cowan, I remember her having the DA and I at the sidebar saying, would you get him to take this plea? He had no chance of winning that case. It was really, it would have to be an act of God for him not to have that guilt. He knew that going in. I told it to him, I don't know how many times. He didn't expect to get or wish to get any other verdict because that's the only verdict he was going to get. And he was told that I don't know how many times. At one point, I had him in a jury room without the jury there, and I was literally shaking him to take this plea. His co-defendant had already pled guilty to the second-degree murder. He was a nice young kid, had a beautiful smile. And he just kept saying, but I didn't kill anybody. He could not get his head around that joint venture felony murder. So we had the trial. I must correct my sister. There was no 10-2 mistrial. It was one jury. Jury came back with a guilty verdict. I don't know, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see any 25 FBI agents with machine guns around the courthouse. But he just couldn't understand the concept. I even had his father come down and explain to his father the situation he was in. The father coming out and saying that he didn't kill anybody, Mr. Jubenville, and God will take care of it. I said, the problem is God isn't on the jury. And there wasn't anybody in that courtroom that didn't understand that he was going to be found guilty, including him. a first-degree murder. He may not have believed me, but he knew it. But that being said, I did see him about 5 years later up at Susan Baranowski when I went to see flying up there, and he said to me, "They should have taken your advice," but so be it. He made his decision. Did he get justice? Well, justice is what it is. You either take the deal that's offered, or you go to trial. When you go to trial, you're always at risk. There's nothing else in our system that you can do once the DA charges you with a crime. And I always say, when you should go to the jury if you have no other choice. But jurors can find you guilty for any reason at all, and you'll never know why they found you guilty because they don't have to explain anything to anybody. So I believe also that he has done, I think his co-defendant got out about 12 years ago. And he would have been out probably around the same time. But that being said, he was here. It was great to see him. His smile was the same smile he had back when he was a young, naive kid. And I'm glad to be here to be able to vote for his commutation. And I also want to thank Attorney Allen Terfanchian, whose family owns a Toyota dealership and have promised him a job at that dealership. So I want to thank that. Again, I thank the governor and lieutenant governor for sending us a commutation for Mr. Allen. Looking forward to see how he does when he gets out. I can almost guarantee that kid is never going to commit a crime ever in his life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Kennedy.
I just want to be clear that I think that both of these men should have been convicted. They both committed very, very serious crimes, and young men died as a result of their actions. Mr. Allen's case is a little more troubling because, unlike Mr. Koonce, when he went out that night, he went out to commit a crime. He went out to commit an armed home invasion, which would carry, I think it's 20 years in state prison, mandatory. So it's not about whether they're guilty or innocent. We should certainly think about the folks that were killed in these horrific accidents, horrific actions. But it's about what they've done in the last, for each one of them, the last 25 and 30 plus years. They've done amazing things. And if we're going to have commutations, if we're going to have clemency, something I am a strong believer in, I can't think of two more deserving people. It doesn't mean that they're innocent of what they did, and they've paid a very high price for what they did. But I think they both paid enough.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else like to be heard? Counselor Hurley.
I just have to say that as far as joint venture or anything along those lines, and people getting different liability or responsibility or sentences, number one, if you've got three people, one who gets a car, the other who gets 3 guns, and the third that is part of it masked and goes in to rob a bank. As far as I'm concerned, they all deserve the same penalty. And I don't think that should ever change. Otherwise, it's going to be he said, she said. They're all going to lie and try and on their way out of it. And I think for the protection of the public and for the victims, potential victims, that the law's got it right on that issue. And again, I'm voting not for what they did at that time, but for what they've done since they were sentenced. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we may begin the roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Devane.
I have a correction. I would never demean another member. And it wasn't a joke at Mr. Salvati's trial. There were 14, FBI. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that, but I'm just saying how it happened. And so I just want to correct that. The other thing is that, in those days, the court system was different. And judges had to follow the rule of law. We had an outstanding judge in Colin and Paul Dolly, who are outstanding, and we all respect. I wasn't directing my comments to them. I was commenting today, jurors today. And we don't have, we have racial disparity. That's what I'm saying, the jurors. I want to make that sure. I'm very proud to vote yes, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you, and the governor again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you, all of you. I and the governor are very pleased that these sentences for Mr. Allen and Mr. Koonce have been commuted. I want to thank you on behalf of our administration, each one of you, for taking this process so seriously and being so deeply committed to the full vetting that is necessary. I also want to thank you and appreciate the public realm in which this process has taken place and the opportunity for both Mr. Allen and Mr. Koonce to come forward and to speak with you and through you to the public about their remorsefulness, about their actions while incarcerated, their choices to take advantage of programs that our system allows for, and for their specific decisions each and every day to improve themselves through this process, and to ultimately demonstrate to you and to others how they will conduct themselves if the parole board moves forward with their release. I want to thank you for your dedication to this process. The parole board now has both of these matters to consider for a parole hearing, and it is our expectation and hope that these releases will be forthcoming. So we will await the time for those hearings. It is their process to decide that. So thank you. We have two new nominations today. Attorney Tina Cafaro has been nominated to the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. Councilor Hurley.
Yes, I'd like to schedule that hearing for March 2nd at 10 a.m.
Okay, March 2nd at 10 a.m. for Attorney Tina Cafaro. Attorney Jacqueline Greenhall has been nominated for the position of Associate Justice of the District Court. Councilor DeCarlo, you have a time and date for the hearing.
I'm going to consult with the nominee to get a time.
Okay. Great. Thank you. That concludes our.
Thank you.
thank you.
I am Marilyn Petito Deviani,
Marilyn, your
and
microphone,
I'm sorry.
your microphone,
Oh,
push the button below. So
it'd be good if I turn, is that on green?
On green,
Okay, you're all
yes.
set. Welcome. I'm Marilyn Petito Deviani, and I am the presiding counselor today for Karen Bell. And we're starting a little late because we had first vote on a commutation in 25 years. Shouldn't be that long, and I hope it'll never be that long again. So I'm very proud of my council voting unanimously for the commutation of two good people, Mr. Koonce and Mr. Allen. So having said that, welcome, Karen.
Thank you
Nice to
so
see you again.
It's great to be here.
I am going to first introduce the councilors who are here. Councilor Ferrara
Good afternoon.
and Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Hurley.
Good afternoon.
Now I'm going to read the letter from the governor. Dear councilors, I am pleased to nominate Karen Bell to the position of Associate Justice of the Superior Court. I submit this nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I'm closing the nominee's resume for your convenience. So would you like to introduce anyone that you brought today?
Sure. I brought 3 witnesses with me today. I brought the Honorable Tim Hillman, who has been a mentor to me for the past decade, and for me is the model of judicial temperament. I have next to him Peter Ettenberg, who is one of the, I think, most well-respected defense attorneys in Worcester County, at least, if not the state. He is somebody who zealously defends his clients in court and walks outside and shows me pictures of his grandkids, which is why he's wonderful. And then I have Corey Flashner, who's right next to me.
Welcome.
Corey is an extraordinary attorney,
Oops.
a prosecutor, defense attorney. He's been my colleague and was a dear friend. So I just thank all of you for being here.
Oh, I have them. Okay.
And last but not least, is my husband, who's right here, Colin Bell. And so I thank you for being here today. And then I have commissioners. I have the Chief Justice of the Superior Court, Heidi Grieger, who was also a mentor to me when she was in the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Right.
And has been wonderful along this journey.
Right.
Thank everyone.
Okay. Well, I welcome you all. First of all, I would ask anyone here who is going to make a statement to stand the pledge. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start with your witnesses. And your first witness is the Honorable Timothy Hillman, United States District Court. Welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Devaney, and it's an honor and privilege to be
Make
back.
sure the green button's on,
It is.
lit up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an honor and privilege to be back before you all. I have to say that I'm a little nervous. The last time I was here, I got quoted in Lawyers Weekly to a question that Councilor Kennedy asked me, and I got holy hell from my chief. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, Judge. I hope to do the same today.
Putting them on the map.
I have to say that it's also nice to share the dais with some old friends. One of the things that I want to say about Attorney Bell is that she is one of, if not the best trial lawyer who has appeared before me in all of my time on the bench, and that's over 30 years. The serendipity would have it, Peter Ettenberg is the other, and frankly, if Corey Flashner had stayed, he would probably be in that list as well. Attorney Bell has exceptional trial skills. She's patient, she's unflappable, and has a commanding courtroom presence. And, you know, while these court skills are admirable and even singularly particular to her, her qualifications as a trial judge are so much more than her skill and presence. As you all see every every week, there are lots of talented trial attorneys. But we all know that being a good judge requires more than technical skills and trial expertise. Whatever it is, Karen has it. Despite being a trial attorney and trial judge for almost 30 years, I cannot clearly define what it takes to be a successful judge. And I think you all probably share that. You're asked every week whether a nominee will be a fair and reasonable jurist, and I'm sure you will agree that that decision is hard. As Justice Potter Stewart said almost 60 years ago, I'll know it when I see it. Of course, he was talking about obscenity, but who will be a good judge is similar and tangible. It's easy for counsel to get caught up in the drama and the competitiveness of litigation and lose sight of the fact that we are all officers of the court. And that's not to say that Attorney Bell isn't competitive, because she is very competitive. Nor am I going to go out and say that she's altruistic because she has a job to do and because she does it expertly. However, she does understand and appreciate the resource inequities that exist between the government and a defendant. And she understands to see that justice is done and that and not that the government gets another guilty plea or verdict. If she is confirmed by this body, Karen Bell is going to be an exceptional judge. She's an incredibly hard worker. She's a great citizen of the legal community. And I think that the highest compliment, and I'm going to end with this, I think that the highest compliment that I can pay her is that she will be the same person at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in a courtroom as she will be at 9 a.m. So I'm going to please ask you to vote yes.
Madam Chair.
Well, thank you very much
Madam
for
Chair.
coming. Any questions? Oh, Counselor.
We voted on another person named Hillman recently, who I appeared in front of the other day. He seems to be doing a fantastic job, and we'd be very proud.
I am
And his
very,
reputation is one of a very fair and even-minded judge. People are really enjoying being in front of him.
thank you for that.
Now, I do have some other questions about the thing I asked you.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything
Are
you
you
say
clear?
is public
Okay.
lawyers.
I'm glad my lawyer's here.
Counselor Hurley?
I advise him of his rights to remain silent.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Is that, did you want to speak?
No.
Okay.
I,
Any other counselors have any questions? Okay, I just wanted to say now, you said you've been a judge for over 30 years, and this nominee you find is the most qualified that have come before you in 30 years?
She's the best trial attorney who has ever appeared before me in 30 years.
Wow, that's quite a statement to say about her. Well, your testimony means a lot to us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Your next witness is, oh, I'm sorry, we have Counsel DePaula who has joined us. Peter Ettenberg, attorney. Welcome.
Thank you. Counselors, it's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here on behalf of Karen. I couldn't think of a more deserving appointment or nomination for Superior Court judgeship. When Karen asked me to speak on her behalf, the first thought that I had was a picture of her when I first saw her in the United States District Court in Worcester. I was sitting waiting for a trial myself, waiting for a hearing myself. And I didn't know her at the time, and I saw her dismantling a witness on the stand and dismantling the arguments of defense counsel. I echo everything that Judge Hillman said. She's an extraordinary trial lawyer. And I think that bodes her well in the Superior Court because she knows how it works. She knows how the system works. She knows what fairness is. I know that some people have a question whether or not somebody coming from the federal side can go over to the state side, the Superior Court. And I draw your attention to at least three federal prosecutors that I know, that I thought of off the top of my head, that have made that transition. Judge Feely is four, actually. Judge Feely, Judge Josephson, who's out in Springfield, and Judge Ricciuti, all in the Superior Court, who made a wonderful transition to the Superior Court from the federal court. So I don't have any doubt whatsoever that Karen would be an extraordinary state court judge. And I just want to end with this. We on the criminal defense side have a listserv where we look for help among our colleagues. And one of the lawyers on the listserv was asking about Judge Lang, who was another federal prosecutor, who's now sitting on the Superior Court. And she was looking for feedback on Judge Lang. And this is her report back. Stunningly prepared, more than fair, beyond thoughtful. A hearing in that courtroom is what we wish for the Supreme Court. I have no doubt, and I say it again, I have no doubt that Karen fits that to a T. She would be an extraordinary judge. I urge you to confirm her appointment.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next witness is Attorney Corey Fleshner. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
It's quite an act to follow two people who I've admired and a third sitting across from me. I want to thank you for giving me the honor to appear before you, and even more of an honor to speak up on behalf of my friend Karen Bell. I wholeheartedly support her. I've known Karen for about 12 years, since 2010. This body chooses to confirm her. She'll be an outstanding jurist. She'll follow the law. Her intellect is second to none. She'll outwork. She outworked me, and she's outworked everyone I've ever seen her work with. But she's more than that. What she also brings is compassion and empathy to every decision that she makes. And I say that as someone who knew prosecutor for I can say that